Okay.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. This is our weekly Grid Ambassador Builder Series. My name is Danielle Palloschi-Browne. I'm an investor agent, an investor myself. I focus on helping and working with investors in the DMV area and builders and developers in particular. And I'm here with my co-host, Raj Tamang, who is an engineer, builder, developer, and custom home builder himself. And today, we are talking about, in our construction series specifically, construction series number 3, and we're talking about wood framing. So, besides your foundation, your frame of your home that you're building is, like, I would think, probably one of the next most important things that you have to think about, at least sequentially, as you build a home. So, Raj, let's talk about, let's dive deep into, like, the importance and specifics of wood framing. What are some key things that we need to know?
Yeah, like you mentioned before, after concrete part is done, let's say your concrete walls are done, now where next step would be framing, right?
Yeah.
The framing, one thing you have to remember, I think we forgot to put a one note, is the steel beams and columns. Because there might be some steel beams and columns on a single family construction, depending on how big of the span or open concept you want to go. Open concept floor plans means you have to have a lot of beams and columns. That's how it is.
Sure.
So when you have more steel beams and columns, it means it's more costly. It's doable, but it comes with the price, right? So the few things I pay attention when we do this is that you have to remember the schedule wise. When the concrete is done, right now, all the wall concrete, footing is done, walls are done. Now, next step is going for wood framing. Then two things you have to coordinate. You have to make sure the framers are ready. Then make sure that the wood is delivered on time. So when you have one of the things, it's something you have to pay attention. If it is a smaller area, which is already established neighborhood like McLean and Falls, quarter acre lot, you don't have a lot of space on the site, right? So if you try to bring all the lumbers at the same time, there is no space, right?
There's no place to store it, really.
There's no place to store it, and you don't want to store it on the main road. I've seen people done it, but that's not a good idea, and that's why your trouble starts. Your neighbors start complaining to the county, and the county inspector, start getting after you. So the one thing I do is that after you meet with your framer and coordinate the schedule, depending on the size of the house, how big it is, how complicated they are, sitting down with the framer, they will give you the work schedule, right? Okay, first delivery is today, maybe second delivery is in 5 days or 6 days, right? You have to remember also that you have to stagger these deliveries in such a way that your framer is also continue the work. Because if they are working on a project, you want to finish the project. It may take about 2 weeks or 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, depending on how big the house is. You have to remember when the framers are coming, they want to continue work. If there's a gap and they go to different job, once they start a different job with a different builder, then it's difficult for them to come back. You have to remember that. They are not, especially for me, all these guys are shops and vendors. They don't work with me full time. They have other clients and builders like me they work with, so they need to keep the same relationship with all the builders, and I understand that. So that's why I have a meeting with them before the project starts, saying, okay, what is the schedule? What's your schedule for now with other builders? How can we smoothly go with my project once you start a project? So with that, and again, this construction never goes as planned and as scheduled, especially outdoor work, because it may rain, it could be too windy. If it's winter time, it could be too snow cold, right? Those things always you have to keep them in mind. But in general, I just keep 1 day or 2 out cushion when you do lumber delivery. So after meeting with your framer, you make a schedule for lumber delivery. For example, maybe first lumber delivery. So when you do first, I also be EWP. I'll explain what is EWP. So first lumber delivery and EWP comes at the same time. Okay, typically. It depends how big. If the house is really big, like 30,000, 40,000 square foot house, you may have to stagger even EWP delivery in different, at least two, maybe one or two or three different deliveries. But usually EWPs and the first lumber deliveries happens at the same day, right?
Got it. So like pending you have enough space to store everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what is an EWP? Or EWD? No, P. EWP.
P, yeah. So EWP means it's engineered wood products. Okay. So what that means is that in a wood construction, single family house, you have a lumber, right? Lumber means it's 2x4, 2x6, 2x8, 2x10. That's a lumber.
Yeah.
Okay. Then EWP is typically in house, single family house, new construction. The floor system are joist, I-joist, which is pre-engineered joist, looks like I-shape. That's why we even call it I-joist. Those are the floor joist. And also with the floor joist, they have some LVL beams, because the LVL beams are not lumber. Those are engineered wood products. So they I think they chemically modify those lumber and compress and, make some chemical, make it much more stronger than regular lumber. Those are LVLs and PSLs, right?
Okay.
All those LVLs and PSLs and joist are called EWP.
So EWP is more of the category of
type of the wood. Yeah, wood category, exactly. Regular lumber means it's like 2x8, 2x6. It's just regular lumber,
Got it.
So the floor joist and the LVL beams and headers is EWP. Then trusses are trusses, roof trusses. You also have to remember, sometime now with the cost of wood is so high, some of the houses, even on the floor joist, instead of floor joist, we use the floor trusses.
Okay. So what would be the difference between, say, a truss and a joist in terms of like wood product? Like, is there a thickness, a size, what should you note?
So yeah, that's a very good question. Roof, if you have a slope roof, traditional roof, it's a trusses, right? Because that's how pre-engineered roof trusses, exactly, shape of a triangle. But now with the modern construction, your roof could be a flat roof. So when you have a flat roof, your trusses, it has to be also like almost a floor trusses. So in the instance of 14-inch or 16-inch joist, you can make same thing, 16-inch or 18-inch of trusses, like built trusses, but same thickness, entire length. And those trusses or joists, floor trusses or floor joists, are spaced 16 inches one center or 19.2 inches one center. There's a certain spacing. Okay. So now I-joist, you have to remember, I-joist right now is cost-wise is still cheaper instead of floor trusses. But if you big construction, my vendors are telling me that instead of a joist, you can go floor trusses and you can save money.
Okay. Does that compromise the quality of,
no, it does not.
Of the sturdiness, or I guess maybe sturdiness is the right word? But no, so it still is all to code. It's just being creative with the different products to
different product. So you have to remember, and to be honest with you, floor trusses are easy in terms of construction. I'll give you a reason why. Because if you have an I-joist, it's a solid member. So if you have to run a joist, if you have to run a wire or maybe plumbing pipe in perpendicular direction to the joist, you have to make a wall on the joist, right? Or you have to run those pipes or electrical wires underneath. You don't want to do underneath, then you have to make a bulkhead, all that, additional framing is the cost. And your sitting height becomes shallow or lower. So, but the floor joist, you can make a holes, but there's how big a holes you can make. There's a certain criteria you have to follow those guidelines. So you can't just go make if you have a 16-inch joist, you cannot go and make like 10-inch hole on the joist, because that was gonna, like, as you imagine, it will jeopardize the structural integrity of the member. So you can, but there's a certain guidelines you have to follow through. But with the trusses, you have to remember, trusses is just like you have a vertical member. You have a top core, then bottom chord, and you have this diagonal called chords,
Mm-hmm.
waves. It's a top chord, one piece, bottom chord, then you have these diagonal members. Those are waves. So in between those diagonal members, the holes already.
Yeah.
Then you can run it, right? You don't have to make a hole anywhere. If you
Huh.
have to,
Okay.
if you have to run any pipes, or if you have to do a big duct work, of course it may not fit. But electrical wiring, if you have to do plumbing pipes, you can easily run across in a perpendicular direction. That's a benefit of it. Okay.
Hmm.
So that's why I've seen a bigger multifamily project. In this country, we do pretty much, even multifamily 300, 500 units of wood construction. It's all wood, right? So most of this mixed use, they have a first floor is concrete slab, and underneath is retail. That's the mixed use, right? You have a
Yeah.
retail on the lowest level, then you have a concrete slab, and a concrete slab up, you have a four story of wood units, wood framing. That's a residential unit, condos, or it could be apartment buildings. That's all wood. And
Got it.
and I have designed several of those projects in this area locally. All of them, your floor system is a trusses, no joists. And
Mm.
because of the same reason, you have like a 300, 400 units. It's just so much trusses or so much joist, especially if you have to run the wiring on a perpendicular direction, if you have to, run the pipes, it's a lot of drillings and cutting holes, right? But if you have a trusses, then you don't have to do it. You actually save money in a bigger project like this. That's why in a bigger project, not just a multifamily, even a single family project, I've seen people using floor trusses instead of joists.
Hmm. Well, that's a very cool thing to consider when one, you're trying to save time and trying to save money, right? Like that's basically everybody on any project, regardless of the size and the scope. But it also sounds like it could be a lot more flexible in the future as you have to update that building in 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 years, 60 years. It sounds more flexible with what you can do in the future. Say you want to change the meaning of that space. It sounds like you can move around other utilities more easily with the truss system.
Yeah.
Am I understanding that?
So one thing I would advise is even the single family construction. I have one project about 10,000 square feet house, and I have a quote from one of my vendors, and she goes, "Raj, okay, this is all code for floor joist. That's what I designed, but know that if we go with the floor trusses, you may be able to save $10,000." That's good. So that's good to know. So sometimes you can talk to your vendor. Those vendors are your consultant. They should be able to also help you, not just to buy the product from them, but also help you with those information. And she said, but then I ended up going with the joist because of different reasons, because I like it. It's easy to install all kind of things. But she gave me that options. But like I say, if you have a bigger project, it's definitely a good idea to consider alternate methods.
Always. I mean, you have to be flexible, especially and we've talked about this a lot in the last couple of months, the challenges with materials, shortages, delays, things like that. Getting creative with what you have available and what can stay in budget can really help you move things along a lot faster. Which also means you probably have clients at the end, if you're building this for someone else, that are going to be a lot happier, because I don't know anybody who doesn't like to move into their home faster, ever.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, exactly. Same thing as an investor. You have to remember, as an investor, your purpose is you want to build a house, then quickly sell, right? So money is moving, So, if you want to finish the project within a year, you try your best to finish it within a year. Why you want to take 2 years to finish the project, and your money is tied up, your holding cost is higher. So for me, those are the factors I always keep in mind. Because sometimes trusses also you have to look at the delivery time. Like I say, if it takes about 2 more or 3 more weeks of delay, then you have to factor in your delay cost in your project. Either do I maybe continue to work? So those things you have to keep in mind. For me, time is always the very important because either I do a spec home or custom home. I just want to finish the house and move on to next project. I don't want to stay on the same project for a long time. Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think this was great. Is there anything else we should keep in mind when discussing specifically wood framing? I think we covered a lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's about it. I mean, it's still a lot of things you can talk about, the framing, installations, but assuming that your framer are qualified, they know what to do. One of the things I see from other builders, we do it because we have an in-house design team, is let's say so you have all the engineering drawing ready, you have a building plans, you have a structural drawing, framing plan, everything ready. So most of the builders, what they do is they are not an engineer like me, So, they don't have that engineering or technical background to look at the drawing, review the drawing. So what they do is they send out drawings to their vendors to price out. So that, what is the lumber, 2x4, 2x6, 8 foot, 10 foot long, all of that, depending on the frame, you have to look at the framing, they're going to price out. And same thing with the trusses and the floor system. EWP, right? And sometimes I've seen it, this builder, either they don't know how to read it or I don't know what it is, and they just completely trust their vendors to prepare the list and don't do that. I've seen many times you miss it. And these vendors also, they're busy, especially now they're so busy, and most of them, they are using software. And the information get out of the software is not 100% correct. It's just like what information put in. It's like, garbage in, garbage out. That's what we say in engineering term. In the computer software is the information you put in and the information put out. If you provide the wrong information, output would be also wrong. So it's very important you also have to check. So for me, I don't depend on them at all. So when I get a quote from them, when I have a trusses, drawings, everything, I verify everything. I've seen many times they missed it. Okay, it's human nature. But if you rather take, even if, for example, you are not an engineer, but you have an engineer and designer involved, and have someone to look at it, it's worth it. Because the problem happens, you didn't review it, your trusses are, it usually takes like 1 month, 2 months to deliver. Now, finally, you have a trusses on the side and everything's wrong. What are you going to do now?
Now you've just wasted a month and a half.
You wasted a month and a half on time, and your vendors, even if your vendor is wrong, they are not happy, you're not happy. It just creates the environment where nobody wants to get into. So, take a time, review it. As I said, anything we look at it very detailed. Even the lumber estimate, all of it now, I do it myself because I know exactly what I want. And most of these guys, especially lumber estimate, they just send it out. Oh, here you go, $80,000. I have many times, Danielle. I know that this is not the privilege for everybody, which we do have. They send us an estimate for a house. Like, okay, lumber is only $80,000. Okay, here you go, I pay. I have many times those $80,000 is $40,000, $45,000 when I do it myself. Because see, you don't have to, there's a way, you may have to talk to your designer. Maybe they can help you out. To minimize the wastage. Also, you have to remember these framers, they are busy. They are working different places. And when they see too much framing, they will just cut the framing, whatever. If they need a 10-foot ceiling, let's say if they need an 8-foot start, right? And they see 12 feet start, what are they going to do? They're going to cut the 12 feet and make an 8-foot. But you have to remember that 12-foot piece, we may have to install in different place. Now, all of a sudden, there is no place, 12-foot piece. That I need it in different places because my guy already cut it, right?
Yeah.
So don't bring everything at the same time. And also nowadays, I told my guys, that lumber is more expensive than gold. So make sure that you don't waste anything. I tell them every day because I don't want them to waste anything, Yeah.
It's true. It's so true. I was going to say, you were saying, you get fines for leaving lumber out, things like that. Honestly, you could get your stuff stolen if you're just leaving it out anywhere. Lumber is so expensive right now. Don't be surprised. Like, not that I would hope for anybody, but sure, that kind of stuff can happen. It happens a lot in different pockets of the DMV. We've heard it a lot with copper pipes and things like that. Why not lumber? Lumber's worth so much right now. It just being smart. not putting yourself susceptible to any of those kinds of things.
I can tell you, any house, 5, 6, 7,000 square foot home, you have 150,000 worth of lumber EW trusses. You can easily, waste a few $1,000, $4,000-$5,000 on the whole package if you don't pay attention. And because of the same obvious reason, because you order from someone, you didn't really pay attention. You have all this stuff in your side. Now, framing guys, they are supposed to, like I said, they need an 8-foot lumber, and instead of try to find the 8-foot lumber piece somewhere, there should be somewhere in the stack, but they're gonna find a 12 feet long and cut it and make it 8 foot. No, all of a sudden that piece is just wastage, and this happened to a lot of people, bigger builders especially, where they have so many projects going on, and your project manager looking at so many different places, and they really don't have time to pay attention to these little things. That's why they lose money. I have seen it. They wasted. They cut so many pieces all over, and all of a sudden that's a wasted. Now you have to do dumpster. That's a wasted. It's like you are spending money to throw away money.
Yes.
So,
oh wow.
Yeah, those are the things I think you have to pay attention. That's why, to me, is like I said at the beginning a few months ago, is that it's management is very important. So having one person manage 2-3 projects versus one person manage 10 projects. Of course, when you have a 10 project going on, you won't be able to pay attention anyway. And these things will, if you lose $1,000, $2,000 in one project, 10 project, $20,000, you usually. This is real, Danielle. You have to remember, any custom home or new construction we do, especially in this area, it's like $700,000, $800,000, $1 million, $2 million construction costs. It's not like $50,000 renovation costs, especially new construction. So you have to remember, with the new construction, how many vendors and software are involved? You have a concrete guy, you have framer, your demo guy, electrical, plumbing, and vendor. You have at least 20 to 30 software vendors involved.
Yeah, sure.
They say if you can save $1,000 with one software vendor, you are saving $20,000 to $30,000 per project. That's a lot of money. People don't pay attention. They look at, I don't have time to ring around, but I'm saying, same project, you can easily spend $1,000 more on one trade. You don't even know it. But I'm saying, if you save just $1,000 per discipline trade, you're saving $20,000, $30,000 per project.
Sure. So and then, how many projects are you doing per year right now on average?
Yeah. That's the thing that, you usually say, okay, no problem, it's $1,000. Okay. But then you say, no problem, $1,000 to framer, no problem to plumber and HVAC, electrician, flooring. So all that add up, right?
Yeah. So say it's $30,000 a project, and say you do 10 projects a year. That's like not even a crazy amount of business, right?
No, it's not. No.
That's what?
$300,000.
30,000 each. So what? $300,000. That's a lot of money. Like that's real money. Exactly. So it is important to mind the details and figure out where you can be smart about these costs if you really want to be successful at doing this, and scale it properly. So if you're doing this like one time, you're going to make these mistakes. But as you get better at it, you have to refine your system. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to scale this to where you can do 10 projects in a year and be very profitable all at the same time. So I think that's a great point.
Yeah, and also remember, if you think about it, that's a rough calculation, $30,000. And like I say, lumber, you can easily save, a couple of $1,000. So $20,000 to $30,000 per project saving is very realistic. With $300,000, 10 projects, you can hire like 2 or 3 project managers. So why you don't just have one person managing 10 projects?
Well, and paid great money. And you're paid great money. You're
trying to save money, but you are not thinking big, in my mind. It's very micromanaged. And also it's about the long term, because that the staff, that the project manager, realistically, who's managing 5-6 projects, at some point is going to burn out,
Yeah. And they're going
to have a family.
And then what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Exactly.
Even more money. Yeah. With what you're doing. So totally, completely agree. Awesome. So I think this was great. And I hope everybody watching this and participating learned quite a lot about wood framing and project management on this and deliveries. So if you have any questions, leave comments down below, and Raj and I will absolutely get back to you. Next week, we're going to come back with another topic, moving on from framing. We're going to talk about installation of other framed pieces within a house and some other next steps in the construction process. So stay tuned, and we will see you guys next week. Thanks so much. Thanks, Raj.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.